Ew, there's somebody else's hair on here. All right, let's see. There we go. That will tell me how many people we get. We have one viewer. One. I'm going to start counting. 4. Looks like people are used to tuning in. Hooray. Hi, Cheryl. I love it when you folks send me your comments. It helps me to know that there's real people out there. Hi, Carol. Yeah, very festive. Yes, it's the season. Woohoo! I got my season's greetings t-shirt on. Hi, Anne. And welcome to Tuesday Facebook. It's going to be kind of another Technique Tuesday, and kind of we'll just talk about stuff. So it's nice to see everybody tuning in on a regular basis, and we just love to connect with everybody. Hi, Teresa. So yeah, and I found my elf hat too. I don't know if it'll last. I decided it was either the elf hat or the mask. So since I'm by myself back here, it's the elf hat. Anyways, what have I got for you today? Well, I know our regular people have heard me mention a particular website. It's actually a blog. It's the Bernina We All Sew blog. And when Anne gets notification of this thing, she often passes it on to me because so we can mine it for some ideas to talk about on Facebook. And I ran across one actually quite a while ago now, and I went, oh, I gotta do that on Facebook. I like that one. And the more I look at this quilt block, the more I like it. So since we're into Christmas, I have decided to do a Christmas variation of this. But if you go online, once we start talking about this, then you'll see so many different colorways. This is a fascinating block. Now, just to back up a little bit, I know the last several weeks we've kind of focused on quick and easy because this time of year, hey, we're all busy, and quick and easy is kind of what we need. But every once in a while, some of us just want a little bit more challenge. And so this looked like, one, really, really interesting, two, a little bit more of a challenge. But I discovered it wasn't as difficult as it looks. So I was poking around on the Bernina blog, and I found a vintage quilt block. So it's actually from 1934, and it's called Cleopatra's Fan. It's it's amazing. I'll hold one up. There you go. And as you can see, I'm doing it in traditional Christmas colors. So I thought, oh, that's kind of nice. I like that. Cleopatra's Fan, anything I've looked up since I discovered this, it all looks pretty much the same, maybe slight variations in the spacing of the pieces. Curved piecing, little bit more challenging, but not difficult. So what I've done is I have asked Tyler to attach the link to that specific blog on the Bernina We Also listing so that you can look it up yourself. So what I'm going to do for you today is just kind of walk you through some of the processes when you discover a block like this online so that you get more familiar with how to feel your way through a pattern that is either vintage or maybe somebody else designed it. So when I first opened up the instructions for that this particular block, I discovered one thing. It was designed by a lady named Andrea Kolath in Germany, and all the instructions were in German. And unfortunately, my German is limited to about 2 or 3 phrases. So I clicked on the button on my computer that translated it, so that's fine. So if you run into that, Just use your translator in your computer. The second thing that you will get on your, when you investigate the block, you're going to find the pattern, and you can get a coloring page like this so that you can test out what colors you might want to make your quilt out of. And then you will get templates. I printed mine on both sides because I have a light box at home, so it's not a problem. But you can print them on individual sheets of paper if you wish. You can print them, if you wish, I'm jumping ahead, on directly onto freezer paper, which is my preferred way of transferring something like this. I just might eventually cut actual plastic templates for this block. I like it so well, I can see me making many, many more of them. I'm just going to check my comments here. Linda says it keeps freezing. I don't know. Is anybody else having trouble with the video freezing? Hopefully not. So, okay. So you're going to get your coloring page. Print as many as you like. Try it out in different ways. You're going to get your templates. So, as I have often said to people when I'm teaching them, when I'm talking to them, the first thing I like to do when I'm testing out a design is do a prototype block. So I did a prototype block, and I discovered all the things wrong with the pattern. Not wrong, things that I might want to do slightly differently. I don't care for how I set out this with the colors. My whole idea was to take the block and see if I could replicate a poinsettia for Christmas. But the biggest thing that I discovered about the way the pattern prints is there are no grain lines marked on the pattern. We're all familiar with the vertical and horizontal grain on our quilting fabric. And because this block is designed on point, that grain is really, really important. So just so that everybody knows, I'm watching the comments pop up, and everybody else seems to be having no problem with the video, so it might just be a loose connection with yours out there. Keep trying, and if not, there's always our recorded YouTube video to go back to. Anyway, I took my pattern before I made my real blocks, and I very carefully, and sometimes it's helpful, I'm going to put this, let's see if we can get a close-up here for you. How's that? So on your printed pattern piece, you have this little guide with the pieces lettered that way. So if you think in terms of these lines being what you want square, you want that the horizontal or vertical grain, then you can look at this and transfer those lines onto your pattern pieces. Let's take piece A here, for example. I lined this up. I looked at this. There's the long piece of piece A right there. That's the long side. And I marked the grain lines on all of the pattern pieces. I also marked on mine what colors I wanted to cut those pieces out of, just for ease of setting it out. Because I kind of knew how I wanted it to look in the finish. So that is one very important thing that I found to be missing on the original pattern, is get your grain lines marked down. So I had that set. I knew what colors I wanted. I laid out my palette. I knew I wanted to make 4 blocks and just piece them together into, I'm just doing a little table topper, put a nice little border around it for Christmas. So I got my grain lines marked out. And then, as I say, my preferred way of transferring a design like this is freezer paper. So you're going to take your pattern, you're going to take your freezer paper. This is piece J. Where am I? IG. Turn it over. There it is. And I am going to trace, switch you back over here. I'm going to trace all of those pieces, and you can see how the pieces have your 1/4 inch marked on there. And I traced that carefully onto my freezer paper. At that point, I learned something else. On your pattern, if you focus in right here, you can see those straight little lines where the points are kind of nicked off. Those are very important. Make sure you mark those carefully, because those really help you line up your pieces, because we're piecing curves. And I just found those little points right there. That's invaluable if you keep those little straight lines marked accurately on your pattern. So I got all my pieces marked out onto my freezer paper. Where's all my goodies? Bring my goodies close by here. I'll move this. I'll pile up my goodies. There we are. So I've got all my pieces marked out. Now, the pattern, the pieces are for 1/2 of the block. If we go back to our coloring diagram, your templates are for 1/2 of the block. So we have to cut out of every piece, you have to cut 1 and 1 in reverse. So the easiest way to do that, obviously, is just take your fabric and fold it in half, right or wrong sides together, because you'll get one of each, and then you press your freezer paper down onto it. You can cut the straight lines with your rotary cutter, and I liked the little 28mm rotary cutter for some of this. You could cut your curves carefully with your rotary cutter, or I defaulted to my micro serrated scissors. So then you get all your pieces cut out. It was amazing how many pieces I had to cut out just to make 4 blocks. There's a lot of pieces in this, but it's not that tricky to sew together. So I'm just giving you the highlights. I'm just going to give you a few tips as we go along. So put your grain lines on your pattern. When you're tracing your pattern, your templates onto your freezer paper, make sure you get those little corner angles marked on there, and make sure you cut those. Don't whip around the corner, because they're really going to help you put things together. So I have all my pieces cut out, and now the easiest way to get this block laid out is actually to lay it out before you start sewing. So let's switch you over here. Let me see. I'm just going to lay out one part of it. So I'll start with that. And I have to refer to the pattern sometimes. So this is, especially with these background pieces. Background piece B, and I'm going to put that underneath. It's going to go up here. It's like building a jigsaw puzzle. I love doing jigsaw puzzles. So line that up, and that is probably, that goes right about there. This one is piece F, and it's going to go right under piece B. Was that B? Yes, it is, like that. This guy's over here. So you can see, if you try and approach things in an organized fashion. How am I doing here? Can everybody see this? We've got kind of a narrow camera angle on this guy. There we go, piece C. Sometimes it's tricky to figure out where they go. Sometimes it's not too bad. Pop that guy. Some of them are obvious where they go. There we are. And that one. So like I say, I decided I'm just working from scraps that I have at home. Yeah, I got a ton of scraps. This is H, goes in right there, and then that one goes there. Oh, we're getting there. One more. There. So now you can see, I'm going to see if I can back this out just a little bit, give you a better view of that. It's funny how that looks so much darker in the camera. So there is 1/2 of the block. There's that diagonal seam. Now you can see how important that grain line is, because when I lift up this top piece and give it a tug, it's pretty stable. So if I've cut out my pieces correctly, underneath there will be its opposite. And there it is. Yeah, that would work just fine. Tuck that one back in there like that. So you lay that out. What's the next tip that I can give you? From this point, I would lay out the rest of the block so that I have all of the pieces. Now, what is recommended in the Bernina instructions, and I think works really well, is you're going to sew, I'll switch you back here. You're going to sew your curves first. And if you've ever made a drunkard's path quilt or anything with curved piecing, the principle is pretty much the same. So I'm going to show you, I'll switch you back here. I'll show you how I sew a couple of these pieces together so that it kind of walks you through sewing. Oh, there goes that camera. All right. Camera doesn't want to look at me. We'll go back here. So I'm going to start. I always start with the easiest, okay? And I have this piece. Make sure it's right side up. And this piece. Come here. So I have a concave curve and a convex curve. Now, what I like to do is take, where's some here? Oh, giant scissors. I forgot to bring my snips again. I always forget my snips, but on your concave curve here, that's the one that scoops like that. You want to put little tiny snips, about 1/8 of an inch deep. Every 1/2 inch will do. There you go. And then the next important tip, I like to sew from that side as opposed to from this side. I just find it easier. So you're going to line up that little flat corner. I mentioned to you about that flat corner right there. That's how you line it up. You're going to put a pin right through there. And I have great big pins, but it's what I had. Then you're going to take that side and line it up with that flat piece. Now, if you want, you can pin all the way across. I think you'd probably have to have finer pins than what I managed to collect here. But now you can see when I give that a little bit of a pull, can you see how that curve just opens out so nicely? Now I'm going to move my sewing machine into position because squeeze, there it is. Now give the camera a little bit better angle here for you. Not too bad. There we go. Better not break any of Tyler's equipment. So here's my piece. I have the concave side facing upwards. I have my little easing snips in there. And I am just using a standard foot, but you can use your 1/4 inch foot with the little guide if you like. I'm going to come in right there, lower my presser foot, right on top of the pin. I might set my speed down just a bit because I don't want this to jump away on me. And take 2 or 3 stitches, and I like to back tack on these guys because you're going to be putting a little tension on it. So now you can ease that out to the edge, smooth it down, and depending on what fabric you're working with, you may have to do more or less tugging and pulling and stretching. Flatten that down. There we go. Now, and then we're just going to sew around that curve as we come in here. Mind the pin, hold it down, put your tongue in the right position, right out to there. So that is pieced together. A nice, it's a gentle curve, it's not difficult. Okay, and I liked on the instructions from the Bernina site, they have you press your seams open. And you know that I like to press my seams open. So you can take, as you go, and press this with an iron. You can finger press it. You can get a little roller press and just nudge that down. So there is one section of our block. And then I would move on and do the rest of those sections for that half, and then carry on to the other half of the block. And then the last thing you would do is sew your straight lines. And then when you're finished, and I found once I got everything cut out, it was taking about 1 hour to sew up a block like that. So it is a little more challenging than some of the things that we talk about, but I think I'm going to make 4 blocks. I think between now and Christmas, I can manage 4 blocks like that. Put some nice Christmas music on, take your time, make sure, challenge yourself. Challenge yourself to make every little point match better on the next block than the one that you've done, or the next piece than the one that you've done. I love to challenge myself. And then, of course, when it's all done, your seams are all pressed open. Very, very nice to work on like that. So that is Cleopatra's fan. That is, I think, one of the neatest vintage blocks I've run across recently. I'm going to pin these two together just to give you a little bit of a view here. Whee! So I challenge you to give it a bit of a try. It's not that difficult, and it is, I think, achievable by anybody who's done even just a little bit of curved piecing. So there's the 2 blocks. Hold that up. So that, if you can imagine that doubled, like facing the other way, that's going to be my little table topper for Christmas. But I can see using that design for a great many other things. Go online, just Google Cleopatra's fan quilt block. You'll see all different color combinations that come up. Once I get it done, maybe we'll revisit this and we'll talk about some quilting ideas. It's great when you've got a little project to practice your free motion quilting on. And why not? Everybody's going to think you're a genius, even if they don't understand the process behind it. So that's what I have for you today. I think it's a super, super block, and I'm so happy that I discovered it. If it's a little too challenging for you for right now and you want to wait till January, hey, you could do a Valentine's one. That would be really pretty. But coming up on, let me see, Sandy will be in tomorrow on our Facebook, and I'll be back on Thursday, and we'll jump back into some quick and easy Christmas goodies for you to work on. So I thought I'd give you a little taste of this. I encourage you to go onto that link that's going to be attached to the video and check it out for yourself, because I had a lot of fun making the 2 blocks on the weekend. It was snowing. I was up in my sewing room and really, really having a good time. So that's all I have for you for now. Take care, everybody. Be safe. Be kind to everybody, because I know things are stressful. It's a busy, stressful time of year anyways, and then you add pandemics and everything else going on. And just remember to be calm, and enjoy yourself. This is a hobby. We're doing it for fun. So take care, and I will see you on Thursday. Thanks, Carol. It's nice to see everybody. Lana's up there. Teresa's up there. Uh, yeah, Teresa says she misses the sew-alongs on a Saturday or a Sunday. And you know that's true. And hopefully one day, hopefully not too far out, we'll be able to get together again and actually share more than just a few tips on how to make a block. Maybe share some of our lives with each other as well. So, but have a good afternoon, rest of the afternoon. Have a great Wednesday, and I will be back with you on